they were already in the service. Mike went in the Navy early, before the war, and so did Sal. And then that was it. That's the way it started. Went from there. Anyway, you can look if you want. Camp Roberts. I don't
Back with anyone still?
Don't know anybody anymore. Only one guy. He was there, and he just died. He was 96.
What about at the Veterans Hall?
Yeah, but those guys helped him up. And he had this dog, boy, he wasn't going to let go of that dog, boy. I thought, how's the guy get a dog in the ship? And anyway, Cruz says, he worked in a shipyard in San Francisco for guys. I don't know if you were with the Jamie, but she was acting up. And your mother was putting her in the shower and said, that's the only thing. And then finally I went in and talked to her and said, well, come on, you can't do that. And she quit crying, Sometimes a parent can do something, godparent can do, grandparent can do something maybe the parent can't do,
Yeah. We all set? Let's not embarrass Jamie anymore. So,
Gee, you got a bunch of them. Huh?
I have a lot. You're not going anywhere today, are you?
Nope.
Okay, cool.
I had some guy coming over. When he comes, I got to tell him. I know he's going to be mad, but too bad. That's the way it's all bad.
Yeah.
I had him. He was going to put a motion detector here, and police helped me do it. Oh, with the job, terrible.
Wes, do you want a seat or you?
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay for now?
Take a chair over there.
My job is to stand today. That's my job today.
Okay.
Well, thanks for your time, Pop. I really appreciate
you're
it for doing this for the.
Don't just wait till we're finished, and then maybe you'll thank me.
Okay. So, can you start off by saying your full name?
Albert Joseph Gagliardi.
And where and when were you born?
Born in San Jose, California, April 4th, 1924.
And how old are you currently?
92.
What was your full rank and what part of the armed services were you a part of?
Well, I was in the Army, the infantry part, and I was finally made a corporal. They didn't give out ratings. I don't know if in our outfit they didn't give them out. You could be acting, but I was a machine gunner. Well, I was also a mortarman and a lot of other things. You have to play a lot of parts.
What were the military units you were a part of?
Well, I was in the training unit in Camp Roberts. That's where you get your 13 weeks training. And ironically, it was the 87th something training battalion. Of course, they had a whole bunch of them there. And then I went to the irony, I went to the 87th Mountain Infantry, the select outfit. We only had one in the whole Army. And that was my first outfit. And we went to the Aleutians and took that one island back that the Japanese had taken from us. And we came back because we were like like the Green Berets or something like that, special. And they sent us to Colorado, Camp Carson. And we did training there, mountain training, more training. You always train more and more. And then they decided they were going to make another mountain division. This one, I was in the 87th Mountain Infantry, but it was a part of the 10th Mountain Division. And they decided to make another one. So they decimated the one regiment I was in, just went down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 1, 2, 3, 10. Every 10th was taken out of there, and we were forming the 90th Mountain Infantry. It was another regiment. So we assumed, since we already had the 85th, 86th, 87th, now they had the 90th, it would be 88, 89, 90, we'd have 2 mountain divisions. But after about 2 or 3 months, the War Department said, no, we'll never get another division ready. War will be over. I said, what? War is going to be over? Don't look like there's any end to this thing. But they knew more than we did. And so they broke us up from the 90th Infantry, Mountain Infantry, and sent us to Fort Ord. We had to get, now, we had been there when we left, and we had gotten special training for landing on beaches. I can't remember what they call it, but anyway, we had to train on these assault boats. Now we went there and we had to get jungle training because they're going to send us to the South Pacific. And after we had the jungle training, we shipped out South Pacific, you know, destination unknown. And we ended up in New Caledonia. There was a big, Nimitz had his headquarters there at that time, Admiral Nimitz. And MacArthur was still in Australia. And so we had to push from there. And I went into the 35th Infantry as a replacement, and they were going to the Philippines, and boy, I wanted to go to the Philippines, because MacArthur said, we shall return, and I said, well, I want to be part of this. By golly, on the last day I was transferred. I didn't have anything to say. Just pack up your bag, get on a truck, go. And I went to the 147th Infantry. That's where I stayed with. And we did the normal thing, training. And from there, I stayed there the rest of the war in 147th Infantry. We went to Iwo Jima, then we went to Okinawa, and then of course they dropped the A-bomb, and then we could see the war was ending. But prior to that, I had no idea the war was ever going to end, because it didn't look like any end to us. And it was a real joyous moment for us anyway. Gosh. At nighttime, everybody was shooting traces in the air, and it was like another war. And that night, I think, according to them, they said 50 guys got killed by our own stuff in the air. And so the next day, orders came out, thou shalt not fire a bullet, period. And so, you know, that was it. I wasn't shooting anything, but boy, stuff was going in the air.
What was your role in that unit?
Well, as an infantryman, I was just another guy. I was a machine gunner and a heavy machine gun, and that was my job. And also, I was an infantryman, so I'd go on patrol. Every other day we had to go out on patrol. Couldn't go with the machine gun, it's too heavy. But we went out seeking enemy soldiers. I also was a mortarman, and as an infantryman you have to know all of the weapons. Carried the BAR, carried the M1, the carbine, flamethrower, well, all the other ones I can't even remember. Bazooka was another one. And demolition, we blew up everything that was in front of us. Didn't matter what it was. If it was in our way, we blew it up. It was too bad, because they always said, well, you only get the rumors anyway. They always said, and it was pretty well established by everybody that Japanese are not going to give up. They're going to die for their country. And so we just accepted that, you know. That you want to die for your country, we're good at that. Too bad. I can tell you, they kind of, upper echelon. They never are with us. And they said, you guys are not capturing anybody. I mean, you just kill everybody. We don't. They don't. They won't. We had a lot of demolition. And we got there. It was a big cave. Those guys dug in the ground. They had installations 3 decks below the ground. I mean, like a hotel under the ground, 3 stories under the ground. I mean, they've been doing it for 10 years, all concrete. None of us would dare go in there because that's suicide. And the interpreter, he put a note in there, threw the note in there. And the thing is, you couldn't fire into the cave because the cave goes in about from here to that wall, then it'll turn either right or left. So, you can't take an artillery piece and shoot in there. I threw a lot of hand grenades in there because you go like this and run. And we sat there, and smoked a cigarette and wait, with your guns. And pretty soon, it comes out. He went and picked it up, and he said, he read it, said something like, we have received your communique, blah, blah, blah. And we are 52 members of the Japanese Imperial Forces. And we have discussed your proposition mutually. And we have mutually agreed to give our lives for the Emperor. That's it. But then it was too bad because he said, we do, however, thank you for your most generous offer. Boy, that was a kick in the teeth. But anyway, we put, 10 cases. I remember we put 10 cases of TNT there. And each case, even here, if you go to buy it, you can't buy it now, but I mean, construction, each case is 40 pounds. That's the way explosive is packed, dynamite or TNT. And we packed, just set them up in front of that deal and put a fuse. All you have to do is take one block out and put the fuse in, cut the fuse, put the cap in, and you cramp it onto the fuse and put it back in the box, and that acts as a catalyst for the explosion. And I don't know, I cut a piece about, 25 seconds or whatever it is. And just run, get out of the way, and hid behind some big rocks. And, a big explosion. God. And you're standing there behind a big rock, your hands inside, hugging it, so that, and look up in the air. I mean, some of those rocks are this big, and it looked like slow motion. They're turning and going up in the air. And then everybody said, "Your way, Alan." Yeah, they said, "Your way, Bill. Your way, Jack." All those big ones all over. We had to dodge them. They were big, and then pretty soon the little ones come down. And if you've been in a hailstone, you know how it sounds. Like hail coming down. Then you wait, plop, 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 plop. That's it. And you just walk away. And really, after the war, I found out that they didn't all want to die for their country. They were no different than us. But when their superiors said, "We shall die for our country," that's what you do. And then I kind of felt sorry. I said, it's too bad, because they wanted to live just like we did. And we just walk away like, that's what we do. We give you a chance. You don't want to live, and we're good at killing, so that's the way it goes. And we'd go out. Every day we went out and searched for them, and they'd hide from us because they didn't have any more chance. I mean, we were too strong. And they steal food from us and steal water, and you know, it was just a cat and mouse game. And we're trying to catch them, and they're trying to stay away from us. And none of them were going to shoot at us because we're trying to get food. And yet we're one guy from Gilroy here, I forget his name, he worked for Parks and Recreation, and he said he was in Iwo Jima long after 4 or 5 years, I think. And I said, yeah, I used to go out every day, you know, pick them off. And he said, you didn't get them all, Al. One guy surrendered when we were there. Well, it happened in the Philippines too. Some surrendered 10 years later. They just would not believe that Japan lost the war. You just lied to us. I know they're coming back, and they're going to come back and kick you guys all back in the ocean. Well, look at, we had one guy here, he was from Texas, and he was in Corregidor when we surrendered there. And they called them together and said, we have to surrender, we can't hold out anymore. He said, those of you who want to go out on your own, go on. The rest of us surrendered. Well, his name was Jim Boyd, and he said he's going to take a chance in the jungle. Spent almost 3 years in the jungle, you know, dodging the enemy all the time, and had to make sure he couldn't stay too long in one place because there's always somebody, some natives say, oh gee, I'm going to get, you know, so many pesos, and tell them about it. And so he kept moving and moving and moving. And he said, if you wanted to see the original hippie, he said, that was me. He said, I had a beard like that. And I said, he said, yeah, and and I think he was maybe in the Lingayen Gulf or somewhere in there. And he said, I saw the fleet coming. You know, we put out, I forget, we had like something like 3,000 ships there, you know. And I saw the Armada because we were going somewhere else. Never seen so many ships. I mean, you could look from your space all around you, all the way to the horizon, and you see ships. As far as, of course, you can only flat. I think you can only see. Maybe you studied it. You can only see like 7 or 8 miles because of the curvature of the Earth. But then you're on a ship, you're higher, so you could probably see 20 miles or more. Solid ships, all these ships all around. And Jim Boyd said, I saw the fleet coming. He said, I knew I was going to be rescued. And he said, why? And I said, I bet you said, go back, I'm okay here, leave me alone. He said, yeah, right. Oh, God. But anyway, that's some of the comical parts of it.
So where were you when you found out about Pearl Harbor?
Right here, Gilroy. I was in, matter of fact, it was a Sunday, as you all know, and Grandma, your grandma, my mother's, and I went to church. And, you know, my mother, we lived in a farm, and she wasn't able to go in. And after church, she said, Albert, take a little ride. I like to take a ride. So I did, and I went across the creek and the glen up there where Gagliardi College is, you know. And Mama kind of enjoyed it. And we finally got home, and the time difference between here and there, 3 hours. So when we got home, the radio was blasting Pearl Harbor's attack. Oh, Mama just went nuts, because my brother was there, Mike, was at Pearl Harbor. And he was going back and forth in the ship. He was in a supply ship. And we hadn't heard from him for about 3 days because the lines are all full. And finally he called home and said he was okay and everything. And then the next, I think he was on reefer ships carrying frozen goods and ice cream and everything else. And he came home. And I don't know if he could come home the first one, but he wrote a letter and said, I don't think I'll make it all the way from San Francisco to Gilroy. I can get to San Jose and I have to get back. So eventually he came home and couldn't tell us what happened there any more than was in the paper. Couldn't tell us what ships were there. You know, he's Arizona, well, that was in the paper, he could tell us. And his ship was not hit, and he was along Battleship Row because he's servicing the battle wagons, you know, with fresh food. And they were aiming at the battle wagons. And he said, boy, they were flying over us, just strafing the heck, and we were ducking, shooting at them too. Didn't dock it. It was out in the middle of the bay. And, you know, you could see it, but you couldn't see what was going on because it was military secret. Nobody knew that the Pennsylvania was there. And we talked to them, and they never would say. And they couldn't. And it was kind of strange because they just couldn't divulge all the ships that were really lost there and how bad a shape we were in. And I was, of course, here I was still a senior in high school. And of course we studied it all the time. And we were sure the Japanese were going to land here in Monterey Bay. We were just positive they were that close, they got to come here. And you know, as young kids, I figured all of us guys, farm boys, we had guns and we'd shoot birds and everything. And I just assumed, like many of my colleagues did, that they'd land there and we're going up Mount Madonna and we're going to pick them up. They got no chance. We would have had as much chance as a snowball in hell, you know. But we thought, well, boy, we'll fix them. We got 22s and we got 30-30s. But we thought sure they were coming here. Couldn't believe that. And so then after I graduated in high school, I tried to join. Just that, it must have been, might have been a little before Pearl Harbor. It was at a carnival, and here was that, Uncle Sam wants you. And boy, hey, told him about it. We went in there. Oh, come on in, guys. Checking all this blood and everything. How old are you? Well, we were too honest, you know. We told them our age. Them days you could have just said anything you want. They okay, thank you. So we told them we were still 17 or something, and maybe 18 or 17. And he said, now you take these papers home, get your folks to sign them. Oh boy, took it home. Your mama, here's my paper. I'm going to go to the Navy. Okay. About 3 days went by, and I asked my sister, what happened to the papers I gave Mama? And Eleanor said, she burned them. Why? She burned them. I said, Mama, you graduate from high school first before you. But Mama, we're going to go. We're going to be captains, you know. We're going to the Navy. We'll have our own ship, you know. You said, never mind. So stayed there and waited until after I graduated. Then I got the draft notice, you know. Everybody got that. It was kind of a comical situation because all of us that were draftees had a serial number that you could tell you were a draftee, 39. Well, 9 is a section of the United States. We were in the 9th district. And they had 9 districts. So anytime anybody saw your serial number, if it had a 3 and a 9, you were a draftee. So we could tell the guys that were volunteers, theirs started with a 1. 1 whatever district you're in. And so, you know, we always complained about things. Who in the hell idea is this? Why are we doing this stupid idea? And we'd say, quit your complaining. You volunteered for us, you know. So those guys, so we had that little advantage when you were a volunteer, or if you were drafted. It was always a comedy anyway.
So when you went through basic training, what was your typical day of basic training?
Same thing, every day we trained everything. I mean, it wasn't just warfare, it was general orders and etiquette, and, health ed a lot, how to take care of yourself. And we had a tremendous amount of first aid. You'd think we'd had all been doctors, just all the time, how to apply bandages, where the pressure points were, just like you guys learned as a fireman. And how to resuscitate a guy, and how to treat for shock, and how to put splints on, and over and over and over. And then the weapons, you know, we had to train on our weapons. We had to become expert on every weapon. Some guys never made expert. I made expert in a lot of them because in order to get one of the badges I got was expert infantryman. Well, when you go to combat, you get to combat infantryman. But all I have to do there is somebody shoot at you. But expert infantryman, you've got to work for that. God, they run you through the darndest things. You climbing walls and going through the jungle and shooting at targets. And every day was the same way. And we had to take hikes. When I was in the 25th Division, we'd go, every day we went 15 miles. And on a Saturday was the big treat, 25 miles. And as soon as you finish the 25 miles, you got the rest of the day off, which was almost the rest of the day. But at least we got off, took our clothes off, and ran down to a creek there, and jumped in the water and cool off. And that's the way it was in most other places. Even in basic training we did a lot too, but when I went to Fort Ord for my first assignment with the 10th Mountain Division, every day we walked from Fort Ord to Monterey and back. And that was about 7 miles. We did it every day. Every morning we left early in the morning. And it was a 2-lane road then. Now it's a big 4-lane highway. 2-lane road, and we had to put guards out on each end. And there was very few cars going by because gas rationing, not too many cars. But you had a guy in front and a guy in the back. And there'd be like 1,000 of us, you know, a whole battalion. You had to do it every morning. Yeah, the training was vigorous. There was no easy way out on that. And some of the guys that we called gold bricks, I would never do it because I didn't want to be a loser. But some guys say, oh, this is a bunch of crap. I'm going to just, after about 2 or 3 miles, I'm going to just flake out, fall on the ground, lay there and say, I don't feel good, you know. And they put him in the ambulance and haul him away. And of course, then he'd never make it. Send to some other outfit that, you know, you didn't need anybody that was real strenuous.
The 7 miles march, how much weight were you carrying?
Usually on that one, we didn't carry much. I think on that one, I think we went just with our rifle. But on the 25th Division, we carried a pack and a rifle, you know, we carried about 40 pounds. In the 10th Mountain Division, we carried 90 pounds because we carried everything we had. We didn't have no rear echelon.
During training, do you remember any of your drill sergeants or instructors?
Only one that I ever remember, it's funny, mean guy, his name was Bodke, Sergeant Bodke. Mean. That was his role, you know. Yeah, boy, he was mean to us. But he taught us. he laid it on us, you know. And he gave us things like, you shall never volunteer. Thou shalt never volunteer. If I want to volunteer, I'll pick one. That was his theory. And I remember the first time it happened, he said, gee, he pleaded with us. He had the platoon there. He said, guys, hey, listen, we need a truck driver. And I mean, really, truly, I mean, it's very important. Boy, he really was sincere, you know. And he says, has anybody ever been a truck driver here? You know, and somebody said, Al, you on a farm, you drove a truck. Yeah, I just drove a truck in our farm. I didn't drive up and down. It wasn't my living. And boy, he just went on and on. Somebody, please, I mean, this is very important, you know. Finally, some guy, somebody said, Jim over there, did you drive? Yeah, I drove a truck. Okay, good, gee, please, go over to the supply room over there and talk to the supply sergeant, and he'll have a truck for you. And thanks, and I'll go ahead. And so we stood there. It was all planned by him. We stood there. Pretty soon, here comes Jim. He's got a sad sack hat on that we wore when we did menial work. And he's pushing this hand truck, see, down in front of us like this. And everybody is laughing. And pretty soon he says, okay, at ease. He says, now, remember, thou shalt never volunteer. And boy, that impressed us. And it was right, because I think when we went into Kiska, George Furman and I were volunteers in our entry. We had to go in for our objective was 8 miles. And George and I said, need 2 volunteers on the left flank, George and Al. Okay, we fell out. All day long we're on the flank. Ah, bad. But anyway, we got there that night and all hell broke loose. And finally, I don't know if it was the first day or second day, and they said, we're out of water, and we're on a mountain, and we got no supply. I need 2 volunteers to go down and get water. And I looked at George and I said, I wonder who the unfortunate jerks are going to be on this. You know, we've already been volunteers. And the sergeant said, Al and George. I said, wait a minute, Sarge. Maybe you forgot that we were volunteers coming in. He said, no, I didn't forget. He said, you guys are sneaky, you can make it. So, you know, what you have to do is go down. There's always a stream coming out of the mountain. I know, but it's, you know, it's not a very good thing. So we turned to the line, and, you know, thought they'd help us, say, yeah, it's not fair, they've been guarded. And I don't know, I just couldn't do it. I should have, but I didn't, because then I ended up in the hospital. But, and then when we came back with the water, once the canteens full of water, a little stream coming out of the hill, and we had to holler. We had a password, you know, you always have a password like George Washington, okay, or something like that, you know, Eli Whitney, you know, we had it all planned. And finally we said, hey, you bunch of dummies, don't shoot at us now, you nuts. I mean, what? It's us. And yeah, come in. Well, make sure now, everybody's awake and somebody didn't just wake up and shoot, because it happens sometimes. And so they let us in. We brought the water. We weren't too happy about that.
How did you adapt to military life?
Well, you have to adapt to it. It's a different life. You know, it changes you completely, because it changes you from innocence to, you know, madness. And one of the things it is about that is you're pretty much independent, you know. You got your food, you got the clothes, you got a place to sleep, you know, but you're under supervision all the time. And pretty soon you become accustomed to that, shouting at you and giving orders and have to respond, and it becomes your life after a while, and you become close to everybody in your company, your platoon, your squad. You're really a brotherhood. I mean, guys that I didn't even know I helped, and some guys that I didn't even know they were in the company helped me. You know, just because I was one of them. And then one guy, we got out an assignment once in the side of a hill. Gee, for 24 hours. There's about 6 of us, a lookout for enemy possibility. And So when we got there, the sergeant said, we're gonna break this down to, there's 6 of us, we're gonna be here 24 hours, each guy has 4 hours. Noon, everybody lined up, okay. I was I was the last one, I think. Boy, I got in, the wind was blowing. We had a little shelter there. Us guys are crowded in there. Wind was blowing like heck, boy, I flaked out, man. And pretty soon they said, okay, come on, hurry up, get up, we're going, moving out. And what? Gee, grab my pack and rifle and everything and start going. Here was another group out there. Somebody already came out to relieve us. And I was still awake, and I said, oh, hey, how about me? I never did mine. And the guy says, no, you look like you were awful tired, and I did your shift. Didn't even know the guy. And gee, I'm running, I was the last guy running behind him, and I kind of said, well, gee, thanks. I didn't even know the guy's name. But that's the way it was, Didn't matter who you were. Some guys they even didn't even like, and helped them out of serious places, We were very close. We were like, we were as close as I was to my brothers. I could always say that. I said, I wasn't any closer to my brothers than I have these guys, and I never remember not knowing them. That's the way it became. Just seemed like I knew them forever. Well, you're with them day and night. You eat with them, you sleep with them, you train with them, you work with them. Hey. Yeah, it's I don't know how to explain it. But you adapt to it, and to the ugliness too. You accept it because that's what you have to do. And I suppose the enemy is trained just like us and told the same things we are. We were told they were worthless, they were terrible, they were yellow, they were sneaky. And I always thought, well, they know that. We're the good guys. But I'm sure they thought we were the bad guys. So, I always come to realize that the enemy is trained out of the same book you are. Same thing. Every country in the world is trained out of the same book.
So what happened in between you finishing your training and being shipped overseas?
Like what happened? What do you mean?
What happened? How did it go from going from training to...
Well, what we were doing was what we were trained to do, so we were prepared for all of that. The training was just something we were doing before. Now we put it to use.
How long was training?
13 weeks is training.
13 weeks?
Yeah, that's a basic training, and then you get 3 more weeks of advanced training.
So 16 weeks total.
Yeah. But those 3 weeks you get with the outfit they assign you to. And no, after that it's all out. No strain. You just adapt to it very good. Because I remember, the training officers were very ugly and bad. And that's the role they are supposed to play. But we don't know that. It's just that the guy is always on you. You didn't pass the inspection and it's barracks. How come? Somebody dropped us ash from a cigarette butt. Well, now, that's pretty easy if you're a training officer. Hey, you guys, you flunked, And then he'd say you're quarantined to the barracks for 24 hours. Couldn't go nowhere. Just sit there all day long, Train more, learn the general orders, and learn different techniques of warfare all day long. So they were, and when I got out of there and was assigned to the 87th Mountain Infantry, the guys were different. The sergeants were different. They said, hey, you do this, you do it. You follow orders, but they did it in a way that, they weren't hollering at you. Because they knew, like if he said, I want one man to go blah, blah, blah over there. I'll send you. And if you say, hey, Sarge, could I trade with Al? Because yeah, I don't care, one of you go. Not in basic training. You're telling me what to do? Gee, now you're going to be digging a ditch from here to San Martin. So you don't dare say anything to him. And so one day I asked this sergeant on a one-to-one basis, I said, hey, Sarge, how come, you guys aren't like the drill sergeant? And he said, Al, let me tell you something. Those drill sergeants were excellent guys, because I know from you guys that came in as extra guys here, you guys are well trained. He said, he did a good job. And the way he told it to me, he says, how the heck did he put it in such a way? He says, just think about it. He said, they taught you everything to do, and they did it in such a way that it really made you mad, so you guys are really prepared. And I forget how he used the word that made sense to me now, trying to do it on the top of my head. And I can't remember, he put it in such a way, he says that he was trying to make you so that you were expert on what you're doing. And you guys are really good. I don't have to do much training with you. You guys know it all. We just have to learn how we do it. We might do it a little different than the other platoon. So, he was told to do it that way, and he did it, and he performed well, and you guys, so you get the idea, well, they were mean, but they were trying to get us to be excellent at what we were doing.
What theater of operations were you in?
Well, I was in the Pacific, so up in the North Pacific, South Pacific, Central Pacific.
And when did you get overseas?
I went overseas, let's see. First time I went overseas was July 29th, 1943.
What was your port of embarkation for deployment?
San Francisco.
And how did you travel over there?
Ship. Yeah, when we went to North Pacific, we went in a convoy. I think there was 4 or 5 troop ships, and about 6 destroyers, I think, leading us there, because we were going into a lot of subs out there. And that was another comical thing. They always kept us busy, washing the deck, or sweeping the deck, so you keep your mind active. And I was in guard duty at night. What are you going to guard out in the middle of the ocean, But there I was on the bridge. Oh, ship was in rough water. The bow would hit the water, and mist would come all the way up the bridge. I was dressed up with my rifle and all my clothes and waterproof stuff, and walking back and forth in front of the bridge. Well, all those officers are in the bridge command of the ship, and they can see me. I can't just get over there in the corner and fall asleep. And I go back and forth, back and forth, plow. Oh man, it was a rough ride. And pretty soon I was walking around, the foghorn went off. Gee, scared the heck out of me. And I looked up and I saw the running lights, red and green, start blinking. I said, oh my God, is there somebody aboard in the way? And unbeknownst to me, we're on a straight line, 5 ships, I think, and the destroyers on our side. And suddenly I noticed we're in broadside. We're all this way. And I didn't feel the ship turn. And I saw in front of me now, instead of the destroyers being here, they're in front of me. I couldn't quite get the bearing. And all of a sudden I seen a black smoke coming out of their stacks, and they're just about jumping out of the water. They can go with about 40 knots, and they were dropping depth charges. And all of a sudden I said, oh gosh, we're under attack. And stupid when you're young, boy, I went over to the side of the ship with my rifle. I said, I see a torpedo coming, and shoot that torpedo. Got much chance of snowballing hell, you know. And then suddenly I realized I shouldn't be here. If that torpedo's coming, I should be on the other side of the ship, because I got a chance. So I ran across over there. And pretty soon, we're back in formation and going right along, you know. Destination unknown, but that's where we're going. And the ships are on both sides of it. And in the morning, well, when I was relieved, I went down into my compartment. There's about 300 or 400 guys in there. And a couple of guys were sitting in the corner. There was a little light and they were playing cards and on the deck. And I said, hey, did you guys notice the ship? No, I didn't notice anything. I said, boy, we took a hard left on the ship, and then we went back and they were dropping depth charges out there. He says, oh, no. He said, you're tired. When did you go? See, well, they didn't want to listen to me. So I just went to bed in my bunk. And then in the morning, well, we do our normal thing, have a chow. And there was one guy, he's still alive, Shimke, a real comical guy. And Shimke was a sergeant. And he'd go to the radio room in the morning and listen to Tokyo Rose, see? So he come back from Tokyo, hey guys, listen to this. Tokyo Rose, I heard Tokyo Rose this morning. Tokyo Rose named our ship and said last night it was sunk. How in the heck would she know our ship? My folks don't even know the name of the ship. And Shimke is making a big pun of it. He says, actually we're in the bottom of the ocean doing close order drill. So everybody laughed, you know, it's comical. But you kind of wonder, how the heck did she get that information? So the enemy has much information, I guess, as we get too, you know.
How long did it take you to reach your theater of operations?
Let's see, on the first one, it took us July 29th, and we made a landing on August 15th. So that's how long it took. We went to Dutch Harbor. It was only there an hour, and then we got off the ship. And then we went to Adak, and we had to get off there because they said we didn't have our feet, we were in the water too long, and we didn't. So we stood there, and I didn't notice any difference when you're a young kid. And then we left there. I don't know when we left, but we arrived at midnight of well, midnight would be either the 14th or the 15th. And we got off in our assault boats at midnight to make a landing at 6:20 in the morning. And we were 15 miles from shore, out of reach of their artillery, supposedly.
Describe what happened when you reached your combat zone destination. What kind of things do you recall seeing?
Yeah. Just territory. I don't know, just no different than here, except there was somebody didn't want us to have it.
What were your orders?
Take that hill. Take that mountain. And it was tragic. I mean, it was, you know, if you weren't young, you couldn't do this. You know, because on the deck, I don't know, a couple days before we made the landing, our battalion commander was, you know, they prepped you up for this, you know, gung-ho, give 'em hell. And we were supposed to be, it was a great plan. Our battalion was going in first as a, you know, I'd say sucker, you know, because they supposedly had a 10,000 force enemy out there. And so we were going at the end of this island and take this mountain 8 miles in, was going to suck half of their force towards us. So it would cut their force to 5,000 units, which now they had difficult splitting up their outfit. And we would only have to hold them for 24 hours. And then the main force of 35,000 was going to split the island in half. It was a good plan. But meanwhile, we had to hang on by our teeth. And he says, I mean, it was dynamic. All these guys make these famous speeches. And he says, we're going to go in and we're going to take that mountain and we're going to hold it. And if we don't hold it, you all better be dead. Well, we're going to hold it. And he said, but I'm sure you're going to hold it. And we only ain't going to be there 24 hours. And then we'll be relieved by the main force. And 250 of you will walk back. And I looked at George and I said, what do you want me to tell your mother? And he says, oh, don't worry about it, Al. I got to go through Gilroy to go back to Wisconsin. I'm going to tell your mother what a hero you were. Way loud, you know. But it was kind of sad because you look around and you say, you don't make it, you don't make it, you don't make it. I make it. You don't make it. You know, so, and the guys you think they don't make it were the ones that make it. You know, maybe they don't explode, I don't know. But anyway, we went in, we held the mountain, and I think we lost 15 guys that night. And then that's when George and I were volunteered to go get water. And I think we stayed there, you know, it was over in maybe a week or two. And we stayed there for maybe 3 months, you know, holding the island. And the one outfit from Gilroy was there. My brother was in that outfit, but he had gone to officers training school. And I knew those guys. They were 184th Infantry. And they were a part of the 7th Division. So they had 15,000 of them. And I was in the hospital, and it was about a week. And George came and got me, because we had moved our position. He said, we moved, and I got to show you where we're at. And so I was limping back, and as I was limping back, some guy was coming around a little path, you know, and I kind of got out of the way, and the guy said, Gag, what are you doing here? This guy from Gilroy, from that outfit, you know, and he said, we're over there, right down. Why don't you come over and visit with us? Oh, what a muddy mess it was. Gee, I couldn't get in there. I said, no, I'll visit you later because I can't make it. And lo and behold, they get pulled out and sent to Hawaii. Oh boy. I said, oh, you lucky dogs, you get to go to Hawaii. Yeah, but they were a good outfit. 7th Division did a lot of, you know, they hit Kwajalein first. I forget where, then they hit the Philippines. And I wanted to go to the Philippines too, darn it. Missed out on that.
What was your role in your unit and duties that your job included?
Well, it was the same thing. I was, you know, I did whatever they made the assignment to you. You know, I was once a 3rd gunner in a BAR. Well, then I became a rifleman. Well, same thing, except now I'm a rifleman. Then they made me a mortarman. Mortarman was the best thing to be if you're on the line, because you're back about 100 yards and you're in a hole or in a creek or where they can't hit you, and you can lay down a lot of fire. Machine gunner was the worst one to be. Statistics show that you live 15 seconds. That doesn't mean start counting 1, 2, 3. It means 15 seconds of actual fire. So don't shoot. You live longer, you know. That's the way it was. And normally you don't, you know, with a 50-gallon machine gun, you're reaching out, you know, half a mile. Sometimes I could shoot a mile. And, you know, what's the thing look like? Ant? Not even. I think it hit a target at 600 yards. It was smaller than my front sight. and I still hit them.
Did you ever
Hey.
do a job that you weren't trained to do?
No, we were trained in everything. There were some things we weren't trained as good, you know, like explosives. We could blow up something, but the engineers could blow it up, and with 10 pounds of TNT, we'd use 2 boxes, you know. We weren't like them. They were clever, well trained.
What were names of some of the guys that served with you overseas that you became close to?
There aren't any more. Only one guy, Jack Grubb. I think one time he saved my life, and he doesn't even remember it. And he's still alive, and he's in Seattle or somewhere up there. And this guy Bodke, not Bodke, I don't know whatever happened to him, but Shimke, he's up there in the High Sierras. I forget what city or town he's in. He's still alive. I noticed at the last get together there was a, you know, periodical they sent out, and it said Shimke was the only guy from world out. I mean, no strain. I mean, you just adapt to it very good. Well, I know he's alive. And no, I can't. Within the last 5 years, the last ones have gone. Yeah, I knew a lot of them too. Graham and I had gone to different conventions, and heck, we'd stayed with, we stayed in Vail with them, you know, and well, maybe 20 guys out of the company we knew very well. Time goes on, you know, I'm 92 and I was one of the young ones. Not too many of them were left.
Who were your commanding officers, and what were your thoughts on them?
Listed men and officers were like that. You know, you had some good ones, but I mean, we were not friendly with them, and they were not to associate with us, because there's a class difference there, and so you don't really, you know, really, officers to me were, I don't know, they had a tough job, because us guys, we had 200 guys we could associate with. And the officers, there was only 6 officers in the company. And I mean, they only had 6 guys. You know, I mean, that's not a very nice job to have, even though you got bar in your shoulder. Gee, what kind of a lonely life is that? And nobody likes you, you know, we didn't like them. That's the way the service is, you know.
Was there any parts of the job that you enjoyed?
Oh yeah, right. I don't know if there was what we liked. I could think real hard, maybe. I don't know what it would be. You get used to it, you know. You don't, whatever it is, you know. And the infantry, you know, there's so many of us, and we take most of the casualties, and because that's what we do, and we're probably the smallest part, because the Air Force is big, Navy is big, you know, Marines had 6 divisions, they were big. We had 89, so they had 6. I don't know, everything becomes a part, it's just like him working as a fireman. Certain thing he has to do. Some of them might not like, you know, climbing up a pole or climbing the side of a building on a ladder that's shaky. And some of those things, you know, I was volunteered for 20 years, and gee, they put the old thing up there in the air and make you go up that ladder up in the air with a goddamn hose. And you don't know if the guy's gonna watch you, the flames getting up to you and you're getting too hot. If this guy knows enough to get you out of there, a lot of things can happen. You step on them. Sometimes you're on a roof fighting a fire and all of a sudden, you go through. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen to you. And the same thing out there. Least little thing, you know, you're all out there. Heck, I almost got taken out several times by a darn booby trap, you know, and a mine. Just one of those things. Don't like to get in that situation. I had one of them. One day I got in there and I was, you know, normal thing, patrol. You know, can expect anything, and must have been just God. I say it was God. You could say you were lucky, and it was just a little, you know, territory was rough, all blown away, artillery, and bombs and everything, and walking in. And there was a little rise in the terrain there, which would give me better visibility. You know, went up from about there to this high, and I got up there, and I stood up, and I could see a mile, you know, and nothing moving out there. And all of a sudden, when the peripheral vision of mine, there was a flash, and I looked, and a darn tripwire. Whoa, boy, it was pretty close too. I'd never seen it. I don't know why I even seen it. Just happened that the sun hit it. Wasn't my time to go. And of course, quickly raise your rifle means enemy contact. Everybody hits the ground. You know, what are you doing standing there? What do you think? I'm petrified. I'm in a booby trapped area, minefield. And it's, oh no, I am not moving. You know, and then I followed it and got up over about there. They had a, well, we would have done the same way. They had a stake in the ground with a ring on it, and then the wires tied on. Well, I didn't see it, but now that I followed it, oh, they had a camouflage, you know, a stick and a branch and a crap and a rock. You'd never seen it. But I just followed the wire. Then I followed over there, whoop, another one. Camouflage, followed over there in front of me, another one. And I followed. It didn't go this way because the heck, I was already in here. Ran up there, maybe by the wall, a little well further than the wall. Another one. Then I went over here, there she was. A nice bouncing Betty, you know, sitting there. That's what we call them. They'll jump up about this high and explode, cut you in half. And finally, Sergeant got behind me. He's laying down too. I said, well, how'd you get in there? I said, from that way. He said, well, turn around. I'll talk you out of it. So I turned around and watch out. Don't follow your footsteps. I said, no footsteps, Sarge, as hard as a rock. Okay, you got in that way, you ought to be able to get out. Yeah, pretty good psychology there. So, boy, every step I took, I said, I wish I was a gopher. You know? All right, take another step. Oh, I could only be underneath like a mole. Finally, when I got to him, I dove for the ground, turned around. He said, where is it? That day, we were carrying carbines, a small rifle, because it was all in close fighting. Didn't need it, a big rifle. And I said, here, Sergeant, let me show you. I put the sights on, and I said, oh, look at it. Well, even though I put the sights on, I might be this far off, you wouldn't see it. And I said, I can pick that thing off, Sergeant. Let me blow that son of a gun. I'm mad. I want to get that. No, don't leave it alone. No, let me take it out, Sergeant. I'll blow that thing right out of there. No, leave it alone. We'll bypass it. We'll go around it. I got a map. I'll map it. Engineers can take it out. So we did. We went around it. But boy, I should have just shot before I even asked him to blow that thing up, because I just wanted to get revenge. But he was probably right. Supposing they had also wired it to where we're now laying on, and then it blows. So you know, he was well trained too. But then when I got back, it was kind of nice. Shows you the camaraderie of what we are. And I wasn't there too long, and you know, you got to do, make sure you got ammunition, you got hand grenades, because I always use my hand grenades. And everything, I was sitting there, clean my rifle, get some food to eat. This guy, training officers were very ugly and bad. And that's the role they were supposed to play. But we don't know that. It's just that the guy is always on you. You didn't pass the inspection and it's barracks. How come? Somebody dropped us ash from a cigarette butt. Well, now you know they're all day long, you know. Train more, learn the general orders, and learn. They were, you know, and when I got out of there, and you say, hey, Sarge, could I trade with Al because you were way loud, you know. But it was kind of sad because you look around and you say, you know, I think we lost 15 guys that night. And then that's when George and I were volunteered to go get water. And I think, and the one out from training school, and I knew those guys. They were 184th Infantry, and they were a part of the 7th Division.
Training officers, and what were your thoughts on them?
Enlisted men and officers were like that. Well, I heard we had a hard time today, and I thought, oh, no, not bad. And he said, glad you're still with us. And he got up and left, you know. And it made me feel good because, you know, we're not just a number, we're a part of a group. And I felt good about that.
Can you tell me about
We kill them. That's it. They fight different than us. Wild animals hollering and shouting, and we're just shooting. And when it's all over, they're all laying on the ground. Gee, one time they came, and I don't know, it's hard to tell time. How do you know how long? It didn't seem long to me, but a dozer came in and dug a big trench. And some guys from, we never touched them. Somebody from Graves and registration has to record it. That has to all be recorded. And where they're buried has to be recorded, and because when the war's over, you got to give that to the enemy so they can retrieve their dead. That's the way we do. And God, I just threw them in there. And some guy came with a little steak, white steak. The guy had to be an artist. He had a can of black paint. He had 404 Japs. That's it. You know, I look over there and I said, yeah, more. And you know, it's ugly because we feel good, huh? You know, no, they'll never kill another American. That's what you become.
what was your most frightening experience?
Gosh, I can't. There had to be some. I can't. One of them that was not bad, but it was frightening. We had an air raid, and we were in tents. And we had a air raid shelter. And the enemy was no different than us. They would come, they would send out a plane just to disturb you, keep you from being alert. And they were smart too. They knew when our radar was going to pick them up, when they were 200 or 300 miles out, and they'd turn around and hightail it home. Well, by the time our fighter planes got up in the air, they're 200 miles behind. Can't catch them. But invariably they'd come in, you know, one, just to disturb us. And one night I was sick and tired of this, getting dressed, put on some clothes, go over to this bunker we had, sit in there until somebody said, okay, and go back. So this night I became, you know, not too friendly. I stood there and he said, come on Al, get going. Yeah. And come on, I didn't know. Finally, you better get over here, God darn it. So I started over, and here comes that plane in. Holy man, I'm running there out in the open. I couldn't reach the bunker, and I dove in the sand there, and I was digging with my hands, and the plane was coming in, and holy cats, I'm thinking, this one guy knows I'm from Gilroy, and he's going to get this guy from Gilroy. That's what I'm thinking about, you know. And I'm looking over my shoulder, and all of a sudden, the big ball of fire, and plunk into the dip he went, and shot him down. But boy, I was scared there for a minute, you know. Then I got up, oh, piece of cake, nothing to it. It's funny how you can get scared all of a sudden.
What was a memorable experience?
I don't know. I don't know what you mean, memorable, but...
Anything particularly sticks out during the war?
Gosh, everything was pretty much the same. I never saw anybody important. Never saw MacArthur, you know, and never saw Nimitz, and here he was, walked by his palace where he was, and never saw him. I don't know, I can't think of anything that was really offhand. I'm trying to think of something that was, well, maybe the one thing, it's recorded in history. When I was in Okinawa, could have been fate, because we had a cyclone. They called it something else.
Typhoon?
Typhoon, yeah. And it was a real bad one. And the Navy, of course, they have all that had been shot up, and we fixed it up a little bit. At least it was roof over our head. And it was, I should have spent more time on that schoolhouse, because a carpenter or an architect would have been kind of impressed. So they said we had to move out of it because the cyclone is coming in and gonna typhoon. And so we got out away from the schoolhouse, and we dug into the ground. And I dug a trench, you know, a little over 6 feet, so I could fit in it, and maybe a foot deep. And then I lined it with my poncho and got in there. By the time I got in there and laid down in there, it sounded like freight train running over me. Oh, it was a whacking noise. That wind was blowing. But when I got under there, and I just pulled blankets and poncho and raincoats over me. And last thing, guys, you know, well, my brother, you know, was killed.
Can you go into detail about your brother?
Beg your pardon?
Can you go into detail about your brother?
Well, all I know is, you know, he was a company commander, so he was a captain. And from what I was told, they were attacking some small village or town, whatever it is, in Germany. So it was almost the end of the war. I think he was killed in April, and the war was over, you know, in May. And there was one guy that came and visited Mama, and he was there. I think he was a truck driver bringing up ammunition all the time. And he said Sal was killed by a sniper. Well, thing about, I mean, and I'm not saying anything wrong with the Army, but in the Pacific, nobody wore an insignia. Wasn't even a PFC, nobody. And the officers did not display anything. That's the first guy to get shot. And we did the same thing. We seen some guy out there, he's got a big, long saber hanging here, shoot him. He's an officer, he commands a lot of power. Well, in Europe, they wore their Class A uniform. Everybody's got their sergeant stripes on, they got the bars on, got it on their helmet. Hey, I don't know why they did that. And of course, my brother was dressed that way. He was alongside of a half-track, because that's what he had. He had a company of armored infantry. And talking to 2 or 3 guys there about blah, 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 and pow. Why'd they pick him? Because he had the brass. The other 3 guys didn't get hit, see? That's the way it is. Gee. And the thing about it was, my brother and this guy by the name of Bud Blanchard had a ranch up here in the mountains. His father. He used to come over to the house and visit my brother. They were buddies. Went to school together. And I went with my brother one time deer hunting out there. And Bud Blanchard became a captain. He was in the Air Corps. Well, in them days we called it Army Air Corps. Now it's the Air Force. And Bud was in North Africa, and he got killed in North Africa. And see, my brother got killed in Germany. 2 of them that were old buddies, you know, going to school together. And the first guy killed from Gilroy was John Barry. He went to school with me. Timid guy. Was almost, we would call him, we wouldn't say it out to too many people, almost kind of sissy-like, not what people would call gay. I mean, just kind of shouldn't have been out there. Should never have been in the goddamn foxhole in New Guinea, for God's sake. And Tony Fisher, who was also a friend of mine, was in New Guinea with him. And Tony said, I'd go over there and see Johnny and see, you know, you got cigarettes? Yeah, here's some chocolate bar. He said, and I'd talk to his sergeant. And the sergeant said, don't worry about John Barry. He digs a hole to China. He'll never get hit. Well, artillery shell landed in there. Right? The heck, how can you? Can't help it. Reggie Desidero, the same way. He became a captain. And sometimes a guy gets carried away. You know, if you got hit, let them haul you away. Don't be insistent, no, I gotta be here. You get killed for what? I'm a dead hero. All our guys, our sergeants used to always say to us, don't try to be a dead hero, for God's sake. Just do what you're supposed to do. Stay down. Don't be a dead hero. You ain't gonna help me. Which is true, but you know, sometimes you get carried away. But you can't help it if you're moving up on something and you get hit, well, that's the way it goes, you know.
Were there instances that you thought you might not survive the war?
Never, ever entered my mind I was gonna make it come hell or high water. You gotta be that way. You know, one guy, I got one here, that's it. One friend of mine, I don't think he made it. I never saw him again. I saw him one day, he was looking like this. And I looked in there, he had 3 pennies. And I saw it, I said, give me one of them. I said, where'd you get them? And he said, when I had my party, when we left, you know, give you a going away party, he said, my neighbor gave me 3 pennies, and he said, son, carry this. A bum penny always comes back. He wouldn't give me one, guy. Had to get my home. But I thought, gee, that's really great, you know. What the heck? God is what you got to depend on, you know, gosh sakes.
Were you ever wounded?
Well, I got hit so slight. Matter of fact, it was that time we killed 404 of them right in front of us. And I was with a guy who, I remember his name, Harry Charney. He was a Jew. And he never did anything. I don't know what the hell he did. He never was, I don't know, patrol with me or anything. But anyway, he was one of the guys. And we were in the foxhole together, and I was looking out like this. I had my rifle there. I was looking like this, and he's saying, get down, get down. And I said, well, you know, get down, get down, get down. And about that time, pow, it hit me right about here. But it was a lot of dirt there, and it didn't, made it nothing. And it's a funny thing, my reaction was slower than his, because all of a sudden I get that pow, and I felt his arm grab my shoulder and pull me down. He reacted before I did, and I thought I reacted real fast. And he said, I told you not to do that. And I said, wow, don't tell anybody. Think I want to get a Purple Heart? Somebody said, oh, poor Albert got his finger scratched. God, no. I brushed it off and forgot about it.
Can you describe about seeing all the destruction done to the cities and urban areas that you were in? And
Yeah, well, I never got into any cities. I was on an island where there was nothing, just garbage. Yeah, everything's blowing away. I mean, it's hard to, you got to look at it in some of the books. I don't even think I have anything in here that would even show you, you take a look like this. This is up in the Aleutians. But I mean, there's so much territory there, and they blow the hell out of everything. But he was, a friend of mine was in one of their tanks, and here, they just, oh, I took that out. I got to get that George King. I don't know. It's hard, but I mean, here's a typical example. I mean, what do you see? I mean, it's just a big mess. And of course, this looked beautiful. Here I was in here. I'm right back here. We're here. This is in the Japanese deal, and they wrote on the wall. They said, I always remember, some admiral came in there one time and had to take he had a bunch of dummies and take a picture of that. Record that, And it said, we shall come again, let's see, we shall come again and kill out separately Yankee Joker. And that's what he wrote on the wall. And boy, we looked at it and said, come, try it. And we'll show you, we'll push it back in the ocean. You'll never get anywhere. That's about, now here, I can tell you about the old schoolhouse. This is the schoolhouse we were in Okinawa. This is a camp, how the camp is. And it's hard to say. I mean, you go out in patrols, and I mean, it's just one big mess, rocky and jagged, and everything's blowing up.
did you ever write home?
Oh yeah, I wrote home.
Who did you write to, and what would you write
Mama,
about?
my sister. Couldn't write nothing. Sometimes my sister would write and say, Albert, Mama doesn't, and I don't even know what you said last time. It was all censored, cut out. I thought, what the heck, I didn't say anything. But somehow the censor said, oh, that's a code, huh? Ooh. Oh, he's talking about the chickens in the chicken yard, yeah. I mean,
So the military would
yeah,
censor.
they cut out everything. And I say, I can't understand what they're cutting out, because I know all I could say, hi Mama, I'm okay, everything's fine, and we had the chicken that we ate today, blah, blah, blah. Love, Albert, that's it. And next time, might as well kept a duplicate, just kept sending another one, the same thing. My sister would send nice ones. One time she sent, I got it here somewhere if I could find it right now. It's in here. She sent me a picture of her by a cow. And she's bent over the cow like that. And she says, that's me on the right. It was kind of cute. I showed it to everybody in the platoon, they went crazy. They said, oh, that's your sister on the right. Oh, I see, yeah.
Did you ever meet any POWs?
Well, we took some in, so they were POWs, yeah. They were, the ones were smart, because they were, very good. They're not going to get nasty with you after all. They're a prisoner. We always treated them right, after all. That was part of the rules and regulation. Once enemy is no longer combative, you don't mistreat him. You know, you don't shoot him just because he's an enemy, gosh sake.
Did you ever hear any news about the war when you were there?
All the time, yeah.
Where would you get your news from?
Well, they have publications. Every island had somebody that, and they print the thing. Churchill did this. We got it all the time.
Did you ever listen to Axis Sally or Tokyo Rose?
No, I never did hear, but one, like I told you, he did. Some guys did. It made him mad. I know it'd make me mad too if I had to listen to her. I'd say, if I get to Tokyo, the first thing I'm going to do is get her, and you know what? Gee, oh God, she could make you mad. And some of the guys that married, you know, she would say, and you know, I feel sorry for you, and your wife is out having a good time, romancing with your friend. Oh boy, just make you mad, you know. Oh gosh.
At any point during the war, did you ever worry that the Allies might not win?
No, I was confident we were going to beat them. We were just, you know, we were just moving all the time forward, and they were going backwards. There was no way they could win.
What was the most impressive Allied weapon that you saw?
Oh gosh, they were all, you know, we pretty much confined to our area, but when you see, like, at that time, P-51s and other ones coming in shooting these rockets near the end of the war, you know, I mean, they could fire from a mile away and knock out a pillbox like that, you know, I mean, very impressive, gee, gosh. And then some of our artillery, you know, fires from 25 miles away and hit a target. Some of our 155s did that. The battle wagons with their 16 inches, gee, they'd come over, sound like a freight train. Because you know there's no fins on them, so the shell is wobbling. And you hear the whoop, 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 whoop. As long as you hear it go, fade away, thank God, it's not going to land here, you know. Those were very impressive. And we had some come in real close and lay some fire, heavy fire, and we'd have to pull back. Because, gee, those things weighed about a ton. I mean, a lot of destruction. I think one place, Japanese general was holding, they made us pull back. They said a battle wagon, I forget it was a Pennsylvania or whatever, was going to pull in and, you know, blow it out of the ground. And we pulled back about a mile or 2 miles and saw the battle wagon coming in close and left. They said he couldn't depress his weapon low enough to be able to shoot without blowing, you know, out of, because they had to shoot broadside. He couldn't get it low enough without blowing it off the deck. So he took off and we had to go with a bunch of explosives and blow them out.
What was the most impressive place that you saw on your tour?
Oh gee, none of it was impressive, I don't think. I never got to go to Hawaii, that would have been impressive. Gosh, go down Honolulu when you're fighting a war, oh boy. No, and I never got to the Philippines, where I wanted to go through, what's the capital now? Can't think of the, Manila. And I would have liked to have gone through Manila. Never got there. Okinawa was only in some little, I forget the name of the town, some small, insignificant nothing. And that schoolhouse, I don't even know if it had a name. But the one thing that was kind of nice, and I felt sorry for, was those people from Okinawa, because they took one hell of a beating. And you know, the citizens should not have suffered like us. They were given free right away, but they were told that we were ruthless, we were going to cut their hearts out and eat them, and you know, they were told all that, and they couldn't. They believed it, and heck, look how many of them jumped, hundreds, thousands, jumped over the side of the cliffs, killed themselves rather than have Americans rape them and kill them. I mean, because that's the way. And in the end, they found out that it wasn't so, and we had to help them back in their feet. You know, military had to set up programs for them and give them food, and we hired them to wash our clothes, and I had three guys working for me, because a lot of guys said, no, I don't want to do that. And they'd hoeing weeds and moving rocks and raking, and little guys. I got a picture of them here. I wanted to show you if we had time. Let's see. See, here's some of our ships. This is what happens to them. Some of the planes. That's me in ADAC. Here's some of the big guns. Here's the mud. That's the way it was. It was so muddy you couldn't get around. But let's see. Here, these two guys are working for me.
Those were civilians?
Yeah, two kids. Let's see. Here we are here. This was a cooking crew. This guy was a cook, and cook. And him, I don't know what he was. I had this kid, and this kid, and this kid, and we were just doing odd things around here. And do you notice him holding my hand? Mm-hmm. Well, when we said, hey, get over here, they said, line up over here. He thought we were going to all be shot. That's what his thought was. He never saw a camera before. And he thought we were going to be shot. So he held my hand. And he was shaking, you know. And I said, no, no, no. Well, I couldn't speak his language. And when he seen it click, then boy, the next thing, boy, he was really proud. But see, that's the way they said, Americans are bad, you know. And heck, one of them was eating out of garbage can. Can you imagine that? Oh, it made me sick. Poor gal, she had a baby on her back, you know. Man, you bring a hand out of the garbage can and wipe it in a can like that. Ah, what the hell have we done? Gee. And I wasn't hungry anymore. I just got my food. Me and two other guys went over. She come trotting over there, you know. She held her can out. We put all our food in there. Oh boy, she thanked us and thanked us. You know, I had a look on her face. I couldn't hide from her. Gosh. Here she was, a citizen, you know. She shouldn't have had to suffer like that. Then they say you're a hero. Hero? Yeah. No. That's the tragedy of it all. Here I am thinking, boy.
So how was your living conditions while overseas? Did you have plenty of supplies, sleep?
Well, we got used to it. You started off sleeping on the ground, you know, foxhole, and then when things get better, they bring in tents and you put tents up. Then you start to get GI again, you know. You got rules and regulations. Here you are back to it again, reveille, and get up and, you know, do this and do that. But you do sleep in a cot, and you do have your blankets. In the Pacific, you know, one of the big enemies to us was the mosquito, because you get malaria and dengue fever and yellow fever. We had shots for yellow fever, but for dengue fever and malaria, there was no cure. And we had these nets and go over your tent or over your bunk. If you didn't have that, you're not going to make it. And when we got more entertainment there, like Jack Benny and different ones came to the island. There was a guy by the name of Charles Ruggles came to our island one time, put on musical deal, and you had to go with your net over your helmet, you know, so keep the mosquitoes, and put on gloves, and there we had leggings, so I didn't have to worry there. And all night, as you're watching, the mosquitoes drive you nuts. So that was one of the terrors of the Pacific, was the mosquito.
Did you ever attend a USO show?
Yeah, some of those were, yeah, they were USO. I can't remember, but some of them were pretty. Matter of fact, when I was on one of the islands, it made me an MP for, and all I did is stood around. I didn't do anything. Just protect the girls, you know, if somebody did molest them or something. I don't remember who they were, but they had, you know, they had a stage out there. They had some of the natives in the islands that were acting like, you know, like cannibals or whatever, and dancing and yelling. And it was entertaining.
How did you feel when your tour ended?
Great. That's another long story. That's when it was a nightmare, and I started drinking. And of course that would kind of put you in la la land, but I couldn't get over it. Why? And to me, they should have given us 13 weeks of rehab. Every one of us should have been on the couch and tell you, how do you overcome this, you know? And I suppose every army in the world is treated the same way. I mean, you just, a number, pat you in the head and say, nice job, well done, go home. Thank you for your service. Well, that's not enough. Not enough.
How were you able to readjust to civilian life?
Well, just like I'm telling you, it was hard. During the day when you're active and you're doing something, you're working and you're doing this and that, and your mind is preoccupied. I didn't even have a job for a couple of years, but I worked in the farm, and you got a lot of things to do. You got to see tractor and equipment and everything else. Then when the night came and you hit the bed, you're back to it again. You know, and Audie Murphy, he was the one who was most decorated soldier of World War II. He was a captain. And he had, gee, medals all over. He had a Congressional Medal of Honor. And when he came back, he, you know, was so popular. He became an actor, you know, and he was on the speeching tour, paid millions of dollars. And and in one of the speeches he made, he says, I cannot go to bed at night without a gun along my bed. And still at war, see? And in Florida, he made a speech to some group, and he, you know, told them about the war. And he said, the lucky did not come back. And I've mentioned that to a couple of people. They said, what are you talking about, the lucky? Everybody wants to stay alive. I said, that's because you weren't there, see? You think what you want. But he was right. And what happened to him? Became a carouser, cheated on his wife, blew all his money, ran his plane into a hill and got killed. Did he do it on purpose? He was just another part of a casualty of war, just like anybody else. And here the guy was so successful. That's war. What you call war? Yeah.
What was the first thing you ended up doing when you came home from the war?
Well, you know, my folks still had the farm, and I putted around there. Then I got some little part-time work here and there. I had a truck, and I did a little hauling back and forth. Then I became a laborer. I sacked prunes and just did miscellaneous things until I finally got a job work for the sheriff's department.
What year was that?
48.
And how long did you work for the sheriff?
30 years.
And when you came back, how were you received by your family and community?
Oh, well, gee, open arms, you know, good grief. Yeah, everybody, my hero, you know. made me embarrassed. But, you know, I could understand people's feeling, want to commend you and that.
When did you marry Betty?
December 3rd, 1947. I married your grandma before I had a job. People said, this is not going to last, you know, just infatuation, you know. 69 years, we're still...
I had a job.
Grandma had a job, making about $160 a month or $140 a month. Then I got this big job, sheriff's office, $225 a month, man. That was big time. I had to go moonlighting, make another $100 a month so we could live kind of nicely.
Where did you and Betty meet?
At the ice cream parlor, Shilling, right by the show.
What was the highest rank you received?
The highest what?
Rank you received?
Corporal, I was it. I was acting first sergeant, but that don't count.
And did you receive any medals or citations?
Oh, they're hanging on the wall. I got about 3 or 4 of them. Got a lot of, I don't know what I ever did with. Had a whole bunch of expert riflemen, expert mortarmen, machine gun, all that kind of stuff.
Have you kept in touch with fellow veterans since returning?
That did what?
Have you kept in touch with other veterans since?
Yeah, like I told you, that only one that I got a card from this year.
So how has the wartime experiences shaped and affected your life?
Well, it was so long ago that, gee, you know, it's made me kind of cognizant and really kind of bothered by how we have to settle our differences, you know. I was no different than anyone else when the war started, you know. Let's go get those yellow devils and drive them into the ground and make them pay. But when you analyze this after all of this, you say, is that really solving anything, you know? Why is it we can't sit down to a table somewhere and iron this out? We have the real hawks will say, oh, they won't listen, they won't, they don't understand. Maybe they're saying the same thing about us, you know? Why can't we all? So it's made me more aware of not just, you know, and when I was in school, if you and I got in an argument in a hard time, we'll pick up a stick and say, knock that stick off my shoulder. That meant if you knocked it out, pow, we're going at it, you know? That's the way we settle our differences. And if you thought you could beat me, you'd knock it off, and I'd say, wait a minute, it fell off. And if you thought I could beat you, you'd say, oh, yeah. So that's always, and you know, and the teachers always told us, you know, that is the way you settle disputes. You talk about it. If you can't settle, call me. I'll settle. And it always did. I remember 2nd and 3rd grade to fight over the bat. Or who had to, I was supposed to have a bat something. You got, no, we'd fight about it. Call the teacher over and she'd get it straightened out. But then you grow up and become an adult and teacher isn't there anymore. Hey, what happened to the teacher kind of situation? That's lost. We just go out and fist fight, or countries go out to war. People say that's the way it's always been, that's the way it's always going to be. I don't agree with it.
What are some life lessons you learned from your time in the military?
The life lesson? Well, be kind to each other, hold hands, have your little cookies in the afternoon, take your nap. That's what I've learned. Be nice to each other. That's the way it ought to be.
What was your happiest day in your life?
With Grandma and you guys. Those were the happiest days. Gosh, we wouldn't have missed that for nothing.
What was one of the lowest days in your life?
When Susie died,
What would you like to say to all those who died in the World War II?
what would I what?
What would you like to say to those that died in World War II?
Yeah, what everybody would say, you know. Wish it weren't so. Wish you could have made it. And God bless you for what you've done.
How has your military service impacted your feelings about war?
Man, it's kind of made me a dove. I know when Andy Rooney and his saying about the effects of war, and he had a point. Andy Rooney said, you know, like people said they gave their life. Andy Rooney says, they didn't give their life was taken. You know, so people say, you know, they gave their life for the country. It wasn't given, and somebody took it from them. It was honorable that they made the attempt, you know, like me, all of us. I always said nothing. My brother wrote me a letter and said, there's no German bullet made for me. He was wrong. But we were confident, you know. We were optimistic. That's what's important. You have to be optimistic or you're not going to make it. Just like this guy I told you about with the pennies. He would talk to me and he said, do you think we're going to make it? I said, yeah, I never even have any thought otherwise. He said, he was from Texas. He said, ooh, we ain't going to make it. All those bombs and the machine guns and the cannons and tanks, ooh. You can't make it if you act like that. You're not going to make it. Gosh. I never did see him again, darn it.
What message and life advice would you like to leave for future generations who will see this interview?
Okay. I would say this. The youth of this country, best that we can produce, to them, the torch is passed, just like it was to me, or my generation. They are going to be our next leaders. They'll make the judgment calls. I would say for them to not forget what we have done, good and bad. And that I would challenge them with great anticipation when I asked them, build a better mousetrap. That's it. Yeah, it was all there in front of them, behind them. They got a good bunch of information before them. They're capable, they're the best we got. Don't let anybody say, some old timers say, youth has gone to hell. That's not true. They're the best we got. Build a better mousetrap.
How do you want to be remembered?
Just as your grandpa.
Is there anything else you'd like other people to know about you that we haven't covered?
No, I want to hide it. I don't want anybody to know anything about me.
Is there anything else you feel like we haven't discussed or should be added to this? Or you'd like to go in depth or?
No, I think you know, for one person, you know, there's millions of people that have been in war, and of course today, out of 16.1 million military people in World War II, now, I don't know, you guys probably can get it, you know, pick it up, maybe about 500,000 left or whatever, I don't know. And this is the vanishing breed. That's what I'm part of the vanishing breed, because soon it's going to be just like World War I. There's no more of them left, and they left in my time, your time. They were here when you were born, and they're gone. And soon we will take their place. So others will take our place, I guess.
Well, thank you for your service and everything.
Yeah, well, thank you, by golly.
Thanks for taking time to speak with us.
Oh yeah, because I got so many important things I have to do.
Here, I think these are all family pictures in the back, aren't they?
Yeah, all kinds
These
of.
are the.
Yeah, here, this little guy used to walk by me. I always wondered if he was a spy in Okinawa. And I always looked at this guy and I thought, I wonder why is he coming by our
How old do you
trenches?
think he was
I don't know.
when?
Looks like he's 50 or 60 years old. I don't know, some photographer downtown, Colorado. Just the guy is still left. The other three are gone. And here we are. Oh yeah. And you know, they were all full of mud, crawling through mud and everything else.
16 weeks.
And you know, I suppose the enemies, we were told they were worthless, they were terrible. Those were first gunners. They're doing KP, they're standing with a broom. Kind of easy. Chelsea.
Baby, and she's 7 now.
She's over here somewhere, I forget.
Yeah, well, you can tell she's right in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Half pint must have been in the liquor store. Wouldn't it? Because
Where's the full pint?
you can have it.
Oh, I'm not
That
going
was-
to take your nickels.
I got a bunch of them here.
Oh.
Now,
Here you go, Wes. Buffalo nickel.
Oh my goodness.
you see this here? This is what we wore. Feel how that heavy that is.
Oh,
Have to wear that on your head.
that's not very.
That's heavy to
Yeah.
me. I don't know how we wore it without breaking my neck.
Yeah.
Now you see,
What's the stent there for?
oh, probably bang, somebody threw it. You know Harold,
Yeah.
Betty's brother. His girlfriend, an ADAC during the Cold War. And she found this laying somewhere. So she gave it to me. He said, you know, look at that, on the dust.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I said, that's the irony, huh? I was on there taking a break, and there's a picture of me there, where they're taking a picture of me, and I got this from ADAC. I don't know, it must have been probably with the Air Force, because it's got a eye that disappeared. I had a little wheel came off of a fighter plane that was shot down, and that's, yeah, there was I guess it's gone. Whatever happened to?
What is that?
Well, I'm trying to think. It looks like it was a 5-inch. Let's see. Yeah, let's see.
Is that from a bullet casing?
Yeah, 105 millimeter. 105 was 5 and some inches.
Oh, this thing's pretty heavy too.
Yeah, brass. Yeah. One time, one tank went up behind me, and I looked because they'll run over you. They don't see you. And that guy fired that. And here I got this for you off of the beach, and I thought you'd like it.